Hello, everybody. Good morning to everybody in the UAE and in the Gulf region. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you can see and hear all of us. You will not be able to see Jack, but you will be able to see the rest of us. So please let us know if there are any issues. Also, please sign in from Google Chrome or Safari. It would be the best experience on this particular webinar platform. We will start with introducing the panelists. So welcome to the Learning Through Dialogue series by Clean Middle East. We've been organizing this in association with Reza Hygiene, TCL, and Intercare Limited. Today's session, Our Robots and Alternate Cleaning Technologies the Future, is sponsored by Nilfisk Middle East. At a time when we are grappling with a pandemic, it becomes very important for us to understand how to clean more efficiently without any risk of cross-contamination. The cleaning industry has been talking about artificial intelligence and robotics since a while now. While the GCC region has been a little slow to implement the concept, we see that now more than ever it is gaining traction. But how much is too much? Can we do away with manual labor? What is the perfect balance to strike? Moreover, will this concept of robotics last forever? Also, what about alternate cleaning technologies? Is that going to be the future of disinfection? We're going to address all this and more in today's session. But before we proceed, let me introduce our panel of experts. Today we have with us Ron Segura, the founder and president of Segura and Associates, all the way from the US. Ron brings with him over 5 years of experience in all segments of the cleaning industry. 10 of those years were spent overseeing the cleaning of over 4.5 million square feet of outsourced services for the Walt Disney Company. With 17 experiences of consulting both domestic and internationally, Ron has been assisting organizations to perform at maximum efficiencies while raising the quality of services. He's also the author of numerous monthly articles in various trade journals worldwide. We also have with us Jacques Quinon, the head of global sales connected autonomous solutions from Nilfisk. He's originally from France but lives in Copenhagen, Denmark, where Nilfisk is headquartered. He's the global head of sales for Nilfisk's autonomous program since Nilfisk launched the Liberty SC50 in 2019, which is their robot. Jacques joined Nilfisk 3 years ago in the role of Global Strategic Account Director and works closely with major facility management providers. We also have with us Javeria Ejaz. She's the Director ICT at Farnec. She's an infrastructure strategist, technology innovator, and IoT specialist with successful project management. She's experienced within all aspects of infrastructure development and operations. She also has experience in ERP and information systems and provides IT support services to various operational business units. So let's start with the conversation today. And the very first question on everybody's mind, which is, how essential is it to have machines versus manual cleaning? With the industry thriving on its people, how will the role of actual cleaning attendants change? So I'd like to throw the question open to the panelists. Would either of you like to take this up? Ron?
Well, and I'm speaking from my experience in the United States. The view of robotics the last few years has been one of very expensive piece of machinery. Looks good and not too involved. That is definitely changing now with the COVID-19. So you have two rules of thought that is very prevalent in the United States. One of them is that with the use of robotics, then that means that you're going to eliminate people. And a lot of the union throughout the United States, that's definitely one of their concerns. Prior to COVID-19, well, now you have COVID-19 and now post-COVID-19, with the use of robotics, it very well could mean that you now can reallocate some of that labor, human labor, to do some of the more technical things like the disinfecting. And I think we'll talk about budgets a little bit later, but That all has changed now because of this pandemic crisis. People are really looking seriously now at robotics.
Yeah, let me add something into that. Thanks, Ron. I would say cleaning robots today are really part of a new automation trend that we can see in cars with the new automated cars. We also looked at new automated taxis, flying taxis, etc. There are lots of things, but as just said, we're now in a stage in which automated scrubber or automated cleaning machine bring additional value to the cleaner because it's freeing up time for him so he can improve and specify on specific tasks like start quality picture. They can focus on really the task that needs to be manual to be sure that everywhere that someone can out to take a shopping mall, for example, the cleaning robot can clean the floor while the employee or the cleaner can just clean handles, all the bars that people are couching, etc., and make sure that all places where people can couch and cross COVID-19, for example, are clean and safe. So it's not a reduction of the employee task, it's more to leverage them and to use them in the different tasks for that, bring a safer environment for everyone.
Hear you. Hello,
Yes,
Javeria? We can't hear you, Javeria. Can you check your mic, please? We can't hear you. It's fine a couple of minutes ago. Hello? Sorry, guys. There seems to be some issue with Javeria's mic. Could you reconnect your headphones and try again? No, we can't. We can't hear you now. Um, so we're just going to go on to the. Okay, she's back.
Hi, can you guys
Hi.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Great.
All right,
Yes, you were
brilliant.
saying?
Thank you very much for keeping up with me. Yes, I would like to add something on top of what Ron and Jack, my friend, said. So, coming from services industry myself, since we experience how labor intensive this particular cleaning role is, but at the same time, we appreciate the innovation and advancement in technology. We can see that how can technology and the concept behind this robotics and connected and automated computation can bring, and what benefits this artificial paradigm have over the biological one, where one can go much more beyond the working under high pressure and high temperature, where simple repetitive tasks, how they can be automated, where humans can focus more on complex and thought intensive tasks. So definitely the industry do appreciate that, okay, where robotics can take over the part of a macro task rather than taking over a complete task, because the human factor remains there. But so yes, it looks like a combination of all.
Okay. Is there going to be, I mean, how can we strike a balance between, machines and manual cleaning? Is there some kind of a formula, that will work? Like you would say you'd keep a manual labor for, or I don't want to use the word labor, but you'd keep your manual cleaning for, say, certain tasks like wiping down surfaces and all of that, but you'd use robots or alternate technologies for larger areas. Is there some kind of a formula for that?
Let me try to answer to that question, Santi. I don't think there is a.
Jack, can you hold the mic a little closer? You're a little unclear.
Yeah, sorry for that. There is no single answer for that because every site or every user of a cleaning machine, if you mention a retail, airport, shopping malls, a hospital, or even industry, they have different needs. They have different time to clean. They have a different complexity. So
Mm-hmm.
you really need to, when you implement robotics, and that's where it's very it's a key point. You really need to make sure you adapt your way of cleaning to the machine you want to use because manual cleaning will be probably faster than an automated cleaning because the human is a little bit faster into driving a machine, while the automated machine is a more consistent and more reliable, but also for safety reasons, it has to be a little bit more slower than the manual machine
Mm-hmm.
driven by a human. But then you also have to be sure that you, if you have only half an hour to clean a place, you need to be sure the automated machine can do it. If not, you need to be a bit mixing the way you can do the cleaning and maybe split in different zones or split in different time of the day to make sure you deliver the same cleaning. But in that
Mm-hmm.
time, you free up the time for the operator and so you can focus on something different. So there are not a single answer. It's really depending on the type of customer or type of site, I would say, because from an airport to a hospital, you have a lot of differences. And also, what time, as a facility manager provider, for example, are you allocated to do the cleaning? So that will drive you to define how you want to use this new robotic machine.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the general pros and cons of using cleaning robots. Um, if each of you could just list out the pros and cons that you have in your mind for cleaning robots, maybe we can start with Ron.
Well, our industry, the cleaning industry, and it doesn't matter where we're in the world. For a long time, there was very little change. We did things the same old way. Particularly in the last 5 to 10 years, we've felt a lot of different change. We've went from the cleaning products that were harmful to cleaning products that were good. But the interesting thing about the cleaning industry is that our initial response is we don't want it. We're happy with the way we're doing it. Our people won't accept it. Our customers won't pay for it. When you think about the green cleaning transition, that was the response. And now today, it's part of our normal scope of work. So now we have uh, the robotic uh, pieces of equipment. And it's a different way of cleaning. But now, because of this post COVID-19, our cleaning, the way we clean is altogether different now. So I think here are the pros that I see in using this type of equipment. Many companies, I don't know if in the part of this part of the world, but in the United States, one of the biggest problem is finding people. I live in the Silicon Valley, and the a person could go in and in normal situations can get a job at a fast food place that pays far greater per hour than a janitor. So with robotics now, you're able to pick up some of that slack. You're able to use robotics to do a lot of the work that you had trouble finding staff to do. So that's definitely an impact, a positive impact on the employees. The technologies that we have today and the disinfecting that we're going to have, we're going to need time to do that. And again, robotics gives us that opportunity. The scopes of work are going to be far different for us. And so that's the positive. Now, the negative is that whenever there's something different, and this is where it really has changed a bit. But manufacturers have really come to the plate in the training. But that's something that is very important because somebody can buy a piece of equipment and the owner can say it's going to do a great job. He gives it to his staff. They don't know how to use it, and they find out that all of a sudden it's more work than saving work. And
Correct.
so they push it to the side. The owner says to the manufacturer, the salesperson, the distributor, it doesn't work. So I think I'm starting to see the manufacturers now come out with some great training programs and very supportive. So I used to have a lot of cons, but I don't have that many anymore because I think that there is a place now for these robotic machines.
Okay. Javeria, any comments?
Sure. The way I see it, that to be advocate of all these advancements of technology, that definitely robotics are the future, because we can see that humans, as compared to, let me rephrase, manual cleaning as compared to robotic cleaning, definitely humans can do certain, for example, square feet of cleaning per day. They have a
Javeria,
capacity.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you hold the mic closer?
Sure. Can you guys hear
Yeah.
me now?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
better.
So let me repeat that again. I'm being an advocate of technology. What I see is that robotics definitely have pros, as compared to the manual cleaning, because humans have the capacity, for example, to do, for example, floor cleaning for certain number of square meters per day. But where, as compared to robotics, they can go beyond the capacity that the manual cleaning can be done. Now we can see successful examples of its implementation for floor cleaning in Queen Elizabeth II and Manchester Airport. Also, I see an example of UV robotics, which are successfully implemented in hospitals throughout China and Europe and US as well, where overnight UV robotics, they go and disinfect the most commonly used location, which is a very advanced way, and it's very practical. But when I look at the con side, which is very, very visible, is that yes, the cost of technology. So obviously, when we compare the cost of manual cleaning versus the robotics, the cost of robotics go way beyond, especially in the region that I am sitting in GCC at the moment. But obviously, we need to look at the broader picture. We need to look at the environment, for example, the pandemic that we are experiencing nowadays. That yes, in certain situation for a macro environment, the productivity of robotics do bring the ROI for the cost. So certainly,
Okay.
it has pros and cons.
Okay. Guys, I do understand that it's a little difficult to hear Javeria. She's keeping unwell today, and she still kindly asked, been agreed to be part of the panel discussion despite her bad health. Javeria, if you can just speak into your mic next time a little more. I'm sorry to keep insisting on that. But guys, if you don't mind, if y'all can just increase the volume a bit because she's pretty unwell. Yeah, thank you. Jack, would you like to add to this in terms of the pros and cons?
Yeah, for me, benefit
Hello.
related. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I have to also at this point mention that I have to leave and now just to take over, but it's key today and back to some of the points that were mentioned. As a manufacturing company, we also try to improve the ease of use and make the use of the robot very easy and flexible. And in terms of benefits, a robot versus a manual cleaning brings a lot of cleaning. It's also very, and then you can also try to place with a digital solution what the machine has been doing in terms of cleaning, etc. So these are you can as a provider, you can also show to the customer that cleaning has been done, how many square meters you are cleaning, etc., etc. And I'm really sorry, but I'm going to take over as I have to leave to the airport. Thank you very much
Okay.
for this.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much, Jack, for joining us. For everyone listening in, Jack has to leave. He has to be at the airport a little sooner than he expected. So Anders, who is the director of the of Nilfis Middle East, is going to join. Replace him. Thank you so much, Jack. All
You're
the best
welcome.
and have a safe flight.
Yes. Talk to you. Bye bye. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye. Um, Hello. Sorry, everybody, for the exchange. Anders, can you hear me? Hello.
Hear you.
Hi, Anders.
Hello, do you hear me? It sounds like you're
Yes, we
not
do.
hearing me. Okay,
We can
good.
hear you. Great. So, Anders, I'm going to pose the question to you again, because unfortunately there was some issue at Jack's end as well. Um, what are the general pros and cons of using cleaning robots? And I'm going to say let's be as unbiased as possible on this.
I think, as already discussed, there are, let's say, this is a beginning. This is a new era. This is new technology, and I think a good example from Ron about, let's say, adopting greener chemicals and greener solutions. People were objecting, and we are in the beginning of the phase with automation and robotics as well. So this for sure will be coming. Um, there is different solutions on the market. Development is going quite quick. And currently, we are in a situation where it's still a cobot, meaning that the robot will be working together with the humans, with cleaners. So that allows that person to do something else at the same time as the machine will do the floor cleaning. So that's definitely a benefit. Some of the challenges could maybe be adoption. I think, like bringing any new technology into your home or to somewhere, if you're not adopting it, it will not work and it will end up standing in the corner. So that's a
Mm,
big focus for us, that we're not just gonna deliver a piece of, let's say, equipment, but it needs to be something that is thought of and brought into the environment, and which is embraced by the company who's going to use the machine. So that could maybe be a challenge. And I think, of course, in the beginning phase, there could be objection on the pricing. But I think this is also something that's going to change. And there are other, now with the COVID-19, there are other things also to be thought of when you consider if this is a right solution.
correct. We have a comment from Andrea Yoko. So she says that it is becoming more difficult to source staff willing to clean as cleaning attendants, and the current pandemic has made the situation worse as they do not want to work on this front line. Do you guys have any comments on this? I mean, Javeria, since you're from Farnek, is that something that you guys are also experiencing?
Shanti?
Yes. Can you hold the mic a little closer?
Okay.
Yeah,
How about now?
that's yeah,
Better?
that's better. Yeah,
Great.
thanks.
Yes, definitely. I mean, employee safety is prime for business like Farnek. We definitely have a full set of SOPs that we train our employees. We make them aware of what are the right SOPs to follow. We ensure through our set of staff, including supervisors, our management, that yes, all of the employees are trained and well aware, because employee safety is not only for Farnek, but yes, for public safety, it is a prime. Therefore, this, which is the reason why robotics and all these new advancements of technology has been considered with more influence in such pandemic, because there are exposure. Humans can make a mistake, but robotics who are programmed to do certain tasks in certain way can be more reliable. Definitely, the human safety is a prime, and employee welfare is a prime for a business like Farnek.
Okay, great. Somebody else has asked a question to Ron, and Ron has answered yes. So I'm just going to, pose it to the panel. So Danielle Puglia says that, dear Ron, do you think that today there are real robotic machines on cleaning, or do you think that we are still working with automated ones? If I look at the existing ones, no one is a real robot. It is always necessary to have support from humans. Do you think the robotic system can be better to harmonize the manual and mechanical cleaning? Anders, would you like to take this up?
Yeah, and I would
Essentially,
also allow Ron to answer, but maybe just quickly, yes, it is definitely needed with all machines on the market currently that a person is involved. This is both for the safety, but also to make sure that that we can operate in many different environments. That the solution will not only go into very closed environments. So that is currently the situation, and I think also just looking at cars. The technology is still not there for real commercial robotic cars, but of course it will be something coming in the future, in the near future.
what I want to understand from all of you is, there are automated machines and there are robotic machines. Are they one and the
I
same,
think
or
this
are they
is,
different?
and maybe Ron, I would allow you also to comment on this. I think it's just, let's say, two words for the same thing. Currently, I think robotic people think that it does everything without any human interaction, but I think there are very few machines on the market that are doing, and even in production facilities, there's still a human involved with the machine. So I think this is maybe just a slight misunderstanding.
Ron, would you like to add to that?
Yes, I agree on that too. And but I think it's important to note that the advancement of these robotic machines has just been tremendous. And I
Hmm.
think one of the important things is the feedback from the frontline user uh, to Anders, companies like Anders. They've done a very good job on that. And I think that's what's important. That's where the harmonizing of everything really comes. But I foresee that it'll get better and better. But I have some customers that they're using robotic scrubbers, and
Yeah.
and it's almost an automatic thing now because every night they have to catch themselves sometimes because it does such a good job. But again, it's the feedback so that the technology that comes out will be technology that fits the needs. But what we are able to give the manufacturers is very important from my perception.
Okay. Javeria, any comments on this?
Definitely, it makes me think about different types of robotics for different target services. So, for example, we are very much involved in cleaning, like AC duct cleaning, which is more complex, and we can see that how this complex, labor-intensive jobs, where the complexity in the design and build element of the building impacts and require this kind of robots which can reach out the most difficult position and can do the complex tasks which is difficult for humans to achieve, not only because humans cannot do, but it's more about the design and build of the building. So definitely, yes, we can see the potential of this advancement to be very much applicable where it suits the requirements.
Okay. Yeah. Um, which brings me to my next question. I mean, how much has the demand for robotics increased? Is there a number that we can put to it, say, in the last 2 to 3 months? And are there certain facilities that are demanding it more? The open question is open to any of you who would like to answer.
So, what we see in the industry when we look around, I mean, especially again, we're talking about pandemic because it is a real situation that the whole world is experiencing. Hence, as a result of that, especially in facilities management, what we can see in the industry that most of the retail environment and especially the airports, they are now more and more involved in trialing out robotics, which can perform certain jobs which make the whole service industry more efficient and more safer. So we see many trials going on all across Hong Kong airport. We see in GCC countries as well. So yes, we can see that yes, the demand is there because of the situation that we are in. So definitely, again, the factor can come down that how cost it makes for the service industry, but as a longer route, as a macro picture, the ROI can make sense.
Okay. Ron, what's it like in the US? Are people now demanding robots more since the pandemic took over?
Well, here's what's happening is that even before buildings are reoccupied, the contractors and the risk management people and the safety people, the owners of the buildings are getting together and formulating a strategy of what's going to happen when the building starts to become occupied. How are we going to address the disinfecting problem? It definitely is, it takes a little bit more time. And one of the concerns of a lot of people is the cost. And so my advice always to contractors is when we sit down, bring a solution. And the solution is if, like I mentioned before, if we can use technology to minimize labor, human labor in certain areas that can be reallocated to disinfecting certain areas of the building, then that's good. And so that's where robotics comes in, whether they're vacuum cleaners, anything that can minimize a person having to do that same type of labor that a robotic piece of equipment can do, then that gives manpower and it reduces the cost to that customer of having a disinfection program. So very much so, robotics is part of the equation now. Now the question is, with the doors open now, the person who is going to purchase that is going to say that's a lot of money. But one of the things
Exactly.
that I suggest is in your strategy, you show the benefits and sell that piece of equipment so that customer may become a partner of yours and may offset some of that cost. But in order to do that, you really have to know what the machine is going to do and how it's going to benefit that customer and how it will impact those budgets.
Correct. Yeah. In fact, cost is a huge issue. I mean, even in the Gulf region, in the Middle East region, it is a cost-sensitive market. What kind of demand are you seeing, Anders, in the region?
I think also mentioned this. We started looking into airports. First machines that we were putting into operation went to airports. It went into, let's say, more closed environments. But we are now also moving into a lot of other applications, and this is being sped up. The speed is higher due to the demands with the COVID-19. So this is now in supermarket areas. It's coming into logistics. It's coming into many different areas where just, let's say, months ago, it was more difficult. This is also some of the advantages of having an intelligent machine is that we can also keep updating it. So that it does mean that what you buy today is also what you're going to have years ahead. So there will
Correct.
be updates. There is also great care taken from our side to make sure that we are servicing, we are handling these machines from our side to make sure they're operational, making sure that it's easy to adopt, easy to train. So there's a lot of things that we constantly work and very closely with people in the industry because we need to learn when the machine is out operating. This is not something you can do in an R&D environment. This needs to be done out in the real world.
Yeah.
And this is definitely where we're seeing a lot of demands from also hospitals, where we also have a lot of, let's say, demand due to the need for having less people in the front line. So there's only more and more demand from different industries, but still, of course, airports, big facilities are still also very much potential users of automated
So
machines.
basically, I think large spaces are the most viable options for using robotic machines, right?
I think it depends, and I think it very much depends on what Ron is saying. That it very much depends on the partnership, not only between us as a manufacturer and maybe the facility manager, but also the property owner. So I think it's not now. It can go into many different areas, but of course the bigger the space, maybe the easier it is also to calculate your return on investment. And I think it's also important to mention in this that this is also a great way to embrace this technology that we all need to learn how to benefit the best from. So this is only going to be something that's going to develop further.
Okay.
And just
What
maybe
about
to mention on this with the disinfection, so we are also pushing in this way. So with the UV technology, so I think often
yeah,
we kind of forget that the first step is actually cleaning. So we should not move straight to disinfection, but
yeah,
with a machine that can do the cleaning, can do the drying of the floor, and also to add a
disinfecting.
UV disinfection, you also get documentation. Because the good thing about using a machine like this is that it's going to document, it's going to do the same task, it's going to be reliable,
Mm,
and it's going to be safe. So there are certain other aspects that we can add to the table. So if you're only considering replacing, let's say an ordinary machine with a robotic machine, then I think it's going to be difficult. If you're looking to bring something else and looking at more options and more benefits, then I think it makes a lot of sense.
that actually does make a lot of sense. What about cost? I mean, a lot of people, like we had a question right now about um, if we use this machine. So James Junior Fusana says, if we use this, what about the cost of maintaining compared to the current cost of cleaning? How much does the cost differ? And what would be the ideal reason, cost wise, the ideal reason for people to use robotics?
Well, I
Maybe
think
if I
one
If
of
start,
the,
just
oh, go ahead, Anders.
go ahead.
No, no, go ahead,
No,
Anders.
just a quick. So if I just comment on the servicing, on the maintenance, so we are selling our machines with a service package. It's actually not an option. This is what we are offering, meaning that we take care about the machine for the first years of the machine. And can of course do it for longer, and that is to ensure that the machine will be running, that we will be updating the machine, we will be able to support on the machine. We have done many, let's say, already we have machines in many places. We have done a lot of good tests also here in UAE, and it's an easy machine, and it can, let's say, it can seem also very easy in the beginning, but it's very important that this is adopted into the environment.
okay, Ron, you were saying?
Yeah, and I think, cost is always an issue on anything. But labor, and maybe not in your area, but in the United States, labor is the number one impact on operations of companies, whether it's a contractor or whether it's an in-house staff. And so in purchasing something like this, it's very important to really identify what the return on investment is going to be. And if it impacts the labor, then that's tremendous. So if you have, and I'm not a machine salesperson uh,
Yeah.
by any means, but I think that it's important to understand that when you're able to have a consistent level of cleaning, you're going to have a satisfied customer. With a machine that, with a robotic machine, you're going to have, you're not going to have to deal with the fatigue factor that you might, because the person who usually does the floors doesn't feel good that day. So
Yeah.
you get a consistent program. You're able to provide real-time reports to your customer. And that's tremendous, because what it does as a company, it sets you apart from your competition, because you're able to tell, look, last night, here's what we did. Here's what it took us to do. Here's the process. And the other thing too is, in the United States, or even in the world, we have a lot of technology. And for
Mm-hmm.
the first time, janitorial departments, janitorial companies, they can use that technology. And with that technology, they're able to quantify that they're not just a maintenance segment of an organization, but they're
Yeah.
contributing to the productivity and to the health environment. And now we're coming into a new form of cleaning, whether we want
Mm-hmm.
to or not. We want to be able to clean. And as Anders says, we want to clean, sanitize, and disinfect. Now, we may not disinfect every night, but cleaning and sanitizing we need to do. And if we can document that and really show that, look, this is what we're doing. And again, it may cost a little upfront, but when we really look at things, the return on investment is just going to be so positive. But again, I mentioned before, when you talk to your customer or you talk to your finance people, if you're an in-house staff, you really have to have the full picture and the
Mm-hmm.
benefits, and really believe in it and sell it.
Correct. Javeria, would you like to add to this? How much of an how much is cost? How important is cost for you guys at Farnic?
Definitely. So I do, to a extent, I do agree with my friends Ron and Anders. Um, the benefits definitely for robotics go beyond the characteristics of human, because yes, it is automated, it's connected. There are much more characteristics of artificial intelligence which comes out of it when it comes to simple, repetitive, and regular tasks. But yes, it's more about having a bigger picture so that it makes economical sense for a longer term. Definitely, the return of investment can be seen, can be evaluated, but sometimes it comes down really to the kind of a market you are operating on. So, as we understand, GCC is very cost sensitive, very competitive market in that case, but still people like us from Farnec, from facilities management, we do appreciate, and we do with time adopt those technologies which does take the subtask of a big macro task that a robotics can do, because yes, there is more reliability, there is more allocation that you can do through the robots for many simple tasks where human can be used for more complex and thought intensive activities.
Okay. Moving on from robotics, we've spoken a lot about it. Let's talk a little about the other alternate technologies that people are adopting today. I mean, you have things like steam cleaning, electrostatic disinfection, UV disinfection, ozone disinfection, and a lot of them also come with health hazards. How effective is it to use these technologies? If maybe one of you could, maybe Ron, if you could just highlight each of these technologies and talk about whether, number one, they're effective against the coronavirus in the current situation, and number two, whether they're effective in the long run as well.
Well, I'm not an expert at these things, but I do have some
Absolutely.
experience with a couple of these, and I think Anders can talk about the UV disinfection better
Correct.
than I can. But things like aqueous ozone, electrostatic disinfection, these are what are being used in the United States. The electrostatic disinfection with the sprayers, that's number one. But I think in anything, my encouragement to all people that are putting these things, disinfectant programs together, is to make sure you have a package that includes whatever chemical you're going to be used, whatever disinfectant. Always keep in mind that you have to clean and sanitize and then disinfect. And then the machines, I always encourage, if they purchase a machine, that they have the manufacturer do the training, because that's important. And then the PPE, the personal protective equipment, is vital in all of these areas. But and I think as we progress, I really think within the next 6 months we're going to see a tremendous change for the better in a lot of these disinfectants that we can use and a lot of the methods of disinfecting an area.
So, thank you, Ron, for that. When I was doing my research before we started this webinar, I came across these four specific alternate technologies that are used in cleaning today. So we have steam cleaning, which is pretty straightforward. It's being used a lot already across the board of the cleaning and hygiene industry. Then you have electrostatic disinfection. So from what I understand, electrostatic disinfection is done by spraying an electrically charged liquid disinfectant over an entire area using a sprayer, right? I've also learned that airplane cabins are also sanitized using this technology. You also have UV disinfection. It has been used usually for bacterial control. So I remember coming across a lot of mattress cleaning companies that used UV to also get rid of things like bed bugs and stuff. And then you have ozone disinfection. So what are the health and safety considerations with all of these? I mean, exposure to these kind of technologies is, from what I understand, pretty hazardous to human health. So any comments on this? Anders, Javeria, Ron?
Yep. I would like to add here, Shanti, that definitely see all these different type of technologies, or let's say alternate methods of cleaning. It's down to the nature of cleaning and the environment the cleaning is being performed. So, for example, when we talk about UV disinfection, we know that naturally, yes, how the ultraviolet rays, different wavelengths, and how they are very dangerous for our direct interaction for the skins, for aging, for cancers, and all. But obviously, with the advancement in technology, with improvements, the man-made UV disinfection rays and their products and application is practical. It's live. So, as I mentioned before, that there are many hospitals all across Europe, China, and USA as well who are actually using UV disinfecting robots, which disinfect certain areas in the hospital overnight. So that means that yes, again, the type of cleaning, the environment where human health protection is mandatory, so that it doesn't land up as a danger to the humans. And yes, definitely now with all the traveling industry getting back onto the track, that this is where it is getting more attractive, because yes, planes are will be used more and more. Obviously the ratio of the virus is still there, and yes, this technology can help, but in certain way. Same as you mentioned about, for example, steam cleaning. We know that again, if the nature of the service is fiber, and as we are very much involved in commercial and residential customers, so we in Farnec always get ourselves more and more involved in alternate method, and in fact, the best method of cleaning the right target cleaning requirement. So definitely the fabric based cleaning, steam cleaning do support opening up the pores of the fiber, so that all the chemicals can reach out, and it promises to kill 99.9% of bacteria. So definitely these alternate cleaning technologies are gaining importance, because this is the demand for the pandemic and the situations that we are in. And they do make sense as they are done in a right way, in a right measures, do give the results which we require in today's world.
Okay. Anders, what kind of demand have you seen for these alternate technologies?
Yeah, I think most of them are well-known technologies,
Yes.
and I think, as mentioned now, also it very much depends on the application. So you have to figure out what makes sense to that application. So maybe shopping trolleys is you can clean very effectively with steam, with hot water, high pressure for a lot of shopping trolleys in a quick way, where UV light will not work. When you are going to be cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting the floor, UV light might be a great solution. So I think it very much depends on the application. But of course, these technologies are coming in sometimes maybe a bit too quick. We suddenly see people walking through tunnels with chemicals dropping on them, which can maybe be very unhealthy.
Yes.
So I think it's very much up to us in the industry also to make sure that what we are gonna be doing is not gonna put other hazards to either the cleaner or the people. But I think it's well-known technologies, and it's very much up to let's say us to make sure that we use it in the correct applications.
Okay. What about the training people in, number one, understanding both robotics and these alternate technologies, and number two, in the health and safety considerations for both robotics and alternate technologies. How challenging is training operatives?
I think that's a big part of our development within robotics. We have focused a lot on both making it very easy for the operator, but also very easy for the general, let's say, setup of the machine. So it
Mm,
is, let's say, on our machine, it is like an old VHS. There's a play, record, and stop button,
mm,
and it actually works like this. So very intuitive, and there's not need for a big laptop and a big IT degree, because we know that in real life, every day, it needs to be easy to use. And then talking safety, which is also super important. We actually currently have the only machine on the market which is safety certified from a third party institute to the US standards. Um, so for sure, it's also, again, safety is important, not only for the for the staff, but also for the people who should be able to move around in the environment where our machine will be.
exactly. That's very, very true. Ron, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's training is important. And the way that I look at it and I share with the people that I work with is that this has to be a whole process. This process would include machines that we use, would include the chemicals. And so the training is important. And I'm a big proponent of whatever you use, if it's a chemical, if it's a floor machine, that you get the training from the people that you're buying the product from, that manufactures the product. Because a lot of times the product is used and there's a question and it's never answered, and then all of a sudden this doesn't work. But if
Yeah.
the manufacturer's rep is there, they're able to answer those questions outright, and they're ready to get the buy-in. And the other thing that I really always recommend is having an implementation team. That implementation team could be made up of an end user, a person who was actually going to use it. It could be a vendor, the supplier, maybe the manufacturer, although usually they don't have the time because they're busy. But if you make it a process and you have a team that is able to analyze and work with these products and then implement it, then it's not left to chance. And the other good thing is it's good for the manufacturers that they get feedback. Well, it didn't work because, and then that way it could be something very easy that the manufacturer can help. I'm My experience has shown that on something new, that you have to have the manufacturer and not the supplier. You got to go right to the manufacturer to get that help.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Javeria, what about you? I mean, tell me a little about how challenging the training and the health safety part of it is in both robotics and in these alternate technologies.
Indeed, I agree with what Ron said. Farnek being in facilities management, obviously we've been using scrubbers, floor cleaners already as a part of our cleaning fleet in the services that we deliver. So it is an existing process, it's an existing understanding, and hence for us, we have a very big training center and the team, specific trainers, and it's a part of the job roles, starting from the top management to right to the cleaner. That when the cleaners are all onboarded, they are trained to use all the equipments which are in place. So it's very important for the users like us as a facilities management company, Farnec, to when they embrace the technology, when they include the technology like robotics into their service delivery, they do understand the process, that how the technology has to be used. There has to be a proper training plan, training schedules, where all the users has to be well aware of how it works. And definitely the manufacturer, OEM documentation, their training plans are the best one to follow, because obviously they are the one who created. Yes, as a user, us as a facilities management company, we do definitely, it's a core part of our function, that the training, the requirement of training is very much appreciated and is in place before it can brought into the operations.
Okay, great. Thank you. Um, uh, there is one last question. We're almost at the end of the webinar, everybody. But there's one question by Ellie Malouf, who says that number one, what is the, I'm assuming this is what he's asking, is what is the possibility of getting testimonials from end users of robotics to raise the, is it possible to get testimonials from end users of robotics to raise the level of confidence in robotics, number one? And what about checklist requirements for distributors to be able to take on effective robotics machines? Ron, I see that you've answered these questions. So, what is your opinion on this?
Well, I think testimonials are always good because they're good marketing pieces. They're good, a good way to, in talking to a customer, uh, where you want to bring in a robotic machine. A testimonial is always kind of a validation now, but it's a good marketing, it's a good way to market that this is something that's part of our program, and here's
Mhm.
where it's been used successfully.
Okay. Anders, any comments on this?
Yeah, definitely. I will just be sharing a link to some of the testimonials that we do have. So we have many machines in the market, and we also, of course, have luckily happy users who would like to share their experiences. So I'll be happy to share that.
Okay.
Because it's important for us, and we are working very closely with all our customers who are using our machines, both to ensure that the machine is being used the best way, but also, to, of course, to learn and to constantly improve, and also improve software and other solutions that we offer on our machines.
Great. Javeria, any comments?
Definitely, this testimonials are the key part of not only the R&D but actual implementation, and we've been involved in testimonials, and definitely this is a core question for both my friends in the panel, and I agree with what they said.
Okay, great. So I think we're going to end the webinar over here now. Everybody, Anders has sent, posted his link of his client testimonials on the chat. We will also help that by sharing that on our LinkedIn page. I would like to thank everybody, especially the panelists and who've agreed to come and be part of this webinar today. Thank you so much, Ron, Anders, and Javeria. Your comments and your opinions have been really, really valued. And I'm sure that all of our audience has gained a lot from this particular session today. I'd also like to thank everybody who's been part of the discussion since we started. Thanks a lot. If you have any more questions, please send them across to us at Clean Middle East on LinkedIn. We will definitely ask our panelists for the answers. I'd also like to thank our session sponsor, Nilfis Middle East, and our key sponsors, Reza Hygiene, TCL, and Intercare Limited. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you all have a very, very good day. And Ron, a very good night to you.
Okay. Nice to be
Thank
with
you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thanks a
Shanti.
lot,
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.